Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the intuitive wisdom and insight, and we go as guided. And par for the course, this action-packed month of November, there is so much to cover, so we're going to just jump right in. And as we get going, well, before we do that, I want to just recap quickly on two things from last week that are, carrying over, if you will, this 40-year theme of completion. So from 1985 to upcoming 2025, and this 40-year cycle of completion, and the significance of the number 40 in sacred scripture. In sacred scripture, the number 40 signifies new life, new growth, transformation, a change from one great task to another great task. So we have that, and then we also have this hang on for the ride. And hang on for the ride means to brace yourself and stay involved in a situation that is likely to be exciting, unpredictable, or even chaotic. Essentially saying hold on tight because things are about to get interesting. That would be an understatement for all of these energies, from the Mars-Pluto opposition to Pluto entering Aquarius, where it will remain for the next 20 years, to Mercury retrograde, to the upcoming Sagittarius new moon. These energies that have taken place in the month of November of 2024 are epic and off the charts. So I wanted to start with those two before we jump into what's taking place. Welcome, Alicia. Because let's just quickly look at our main themes. And we have crossing the threshold into a new tomorrow. And the unseen had me both put that together, so crossing the threshold into a new tomorrow, but also to read them individually or separately, crossing the threshold and into a new tomorrow. And recall that morrow means the following day, the time following an event. So bear in mind that crossing the threshold can occur separately from into a new tomorrow, and they can be ran together. We also have eagle medicine. Our key word is metamorphosis, big one. A change for the better. Aquarius benefits all. Pluto in Aquarius, and then Mercury retrograde and Sagittarius new moon. So these are the main themes that we are playing with. Let's look at the main energies. 11, it's peace. We are moving into a state of peace and to relax, to stay centered. 27, nourishing vision, nurture. It's to nourish ourselves from the inside out and from a place of enrichment, of nourishment. It's an 8-year all year long. We've said this. It's about uniting, coming together from the inside out so that our external world unites. We're going to focus on 28, critical mass, to adjust, because it means that we're at a critical mass moment and this need to adjust. The 10, so the 28 becomes a 10, tends to denote new beginnings. So it's treading, cautious advance as we're moving forward. And it ultimately culminates in a 1, the creative force, to initiate, to take action. Our astrological influences. Overall, these energies that have occurred in the month of November are epic, to say the least. And they overall represent a change for the better. One could say, I'm just going to bring myself on screen here, one could say that given the state of the world externally, you all would be saying, you know what, Dearjames, I don't know what you're talking about. Bear with the unseen. Bear with the as above, so below. And allow things to play out. Take a deep breath. Make space for grace. And see what comes about. In these astrological influences, we began the month of November with that incredible Mars-Pluto opposition at that anaretic degree of 29 degrees. That is playing out until into April of 2025, late April. On November 15th, Saturn, the great teacher, stationed direct. On the 15th as well, later, was it's the last of the 4 supermoons of 2024 in Taurus. That full supermoon was conjunct Uranus, expect the unexpected, and Algol, which is a star in the head of Medusa. So it has to do with heads, losing your head, these types of things. Bear that in mind as you see some of the other things that are playing out in these energies. Then on the 19th of November, Pluto entered Aquarius, 0 degrees, to stay for almost 20 years. On the 25th, which was Monday, Mercury stations retrograde. So it stationed retrograde. So we're going to be looking back to revisit all of this. And then, and coming up, I believe on the 5th of December, which we'll get to next week, Mars retrogrades. So Mars is like the big brother of Mercury. So Mercury and Mars, as we close out and begin, we'll close out this year and then begin, Mercury's retrograde, Mars will be retrograde. And last but not least, we have upcoming on Saturday, November 30th, we have this new moon in Sagittarius. All of these energies, and major, major energies that took place in the month of November. So it's a change for the better. Now, as we move in, let's take a look at our actual main theme, which is so beautiful. Crossing the threshold into a new tomorrow, eagle medicine. And the image of this eagle says it all. They have such grace and authority and strength and power, courage. They're formidable. And that is the essence of eagle medicine. And it is for all of us to remember that same energy resides within us. So do not allow external chaos to move you off center. Don't allow it. And with this main theme, there's one single word that you're going to hear over and over through multiple different pieces that are of the tapestry that are being put together. And it's the word beyond. Bear that word in mind, beyond. So let's get moving into, we're going to do a walk down memory lane very quickly of these astrological energies from November. And first up is the Mars-Pluto opposition, and that occurred on November 3rd. In the center of the chart, of the astrological chart for this event, remember we had the sacred square, the number 42. And there's the envelope, there's these minor grand trines, but the point is the envelope is upside down. And in essence, what this was saying to me was that what's been hidden, things have been hidden. This Mars-Pluto opposition, things have been hidden. Now I'm going to skip something for a moment, and we're going to jump forward to November 19th, where Pluto enters Aquarius. Now in this chart, and we discussed this in a previous show, we have the sacred square again. It's the rectangle in the middle, the 42. And this is where the unseen said to us that in the center, again, the image is the envelope. And it had to do with you've got mail and important details and information and news, contracts, all coming to light. And then we talked about the image at the bottom is the trap door, and the bottom falls out. And this taking out the trash, and it was Veruca from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. She wants the goose that laid the golden egg. I want it now. And how she jumps up on the weigh machine for the golden eggs, and it goes, bad egg, and she falls down the trash chute. So all of this about negative energies, shadow energies, illicit things coming to light, and then the bottom falling out, literally. So bear all of this in mind, whether it's individual relationships, and it can be, platonic, romantic. It can be business relationships. And it's also absolutely the greater whole of humanity, of everything that we're looking at. Now come back in between those two events on November 15th, the Taurus full supermoon. And this is where that beautiful pentagram, the sacred, the symbol that defines and represents the sacred feminine, it's the oldest symbol in the world. It is the five-pointed star, the pentagram. Within the pentagram is the pentagon. We had that tearing of the Christmas tree, so that, in essence, revelations or revelatory information or waves of information that will come out will happen in a tiered process in threes, and it will start out small, get bigger, and get bigger. And at this moment, at this point, what was so interesting is to go back to, so when Pluto entered Aquarius on the 19th, the Sabian symbol for the sun for this moment is an Indian squaw pleading to the chief for the lives of her children. The keynote is love as a principle of redemption. Here the soul is presented as a mother whose sons, meaning her active energies, so the creative life force, the divine masculine, patriarchal divine masculine, have become disruptive forces in the collective life of the tribe. She seeks to counteract the karma of their misdeeds through her love and implorations. The soul is responsive to the experience of unity, the spiritual king or chief. But the energies of human nature often follow their, quote, self-seeking, divisive tendencies. This symbol presents us with the value of prayer, the principle of wholeness in humankind. The soul acts to offset or attenuate the dictates of karma. In a religious sense, Mary, the mother, is seen as the mediatrix in constant acts of intercession for the sake of waylaid individuals. So this Sabian symbol for the sun, when Pluto entered Aquarius, is the divine feminine. And in this chart on the 15th of November, where Taurus, it's the full moon, and it's the supermoon, and it's got the sacred feminine that's is the controlling factor, is absolutely present in this chart. It's speaking to this symbol about how the divine feminine is pleading on behalf of humankind. Big energies. Now let's move to Monday's chart, which was Mercury stationing retrograde. And in the center of this chart, there are there are 4 minor grand trines. Those are the triangles on the outer edge of the inner circle, if you will. But what's important about this is that what immediately came to me, and it's number 3 from the unseen, was this splitting apart. And they said the presumptive crown cracks, splits apart. And in the press recently, there was literally this, the crown cracks, and it had to do with the Miss Universe organization. So the presumptive crown cracks, it splits. And then as we came into, so why are we talking about this? Because all of these things are playing out right now and will be playing out in the days, weeks, months ahead. Last but not least, we come into the upcoming on Saturday, the Sagittarius new moon. And here, when you look at the inner center of the chart, it was literally the presumptive crown falls off. And so what the unseen said was the presumptive crown cracks, splits, falls off. No longer who you thought it to be. So this is like the emperor has no clothes, or when they pull back the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, and you see that, it's not what we believed it to be. So bear in mind that the crown, this crown, there will be divisions. There will be cracks in the crown. The crown will split. So people in positions of power, authority, or in our lives, again, the patina will fall off, and it will be revealed who people truly are. And at some point, this presumptive crown completely falls off. No longer who you thought it to be. Watch how this all plays out in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. So now let's move into, because there's so, and this is the other thing too. There's 2 sets of massive energies playing out. And that would make sense. We're ending an era, a time, a cycle, and a new one is beginning. So while there are all of these energies that are dismantling the old, the bottom is falling out, the trap door, the bad egg, all of this stuff is happening. So the ending of that is happening at the same time as the beginning of this whole new era. And so there's the first thing from the unseen. They said, quote, "Let the games begin." And then what I heard was the theme song, and it was from a 1975 to 85. It aired on CBS. It was the theme song to The Jeffersons, the TV show The Jeffersons. And they said, "Let the games begin, moving on up to the east side." The Jeffersons was a spinoff from All in the Family, and it's about literal upward mobility. And this African-American couple, George and Louise Jefferson, move into a swanky high-rise building. George is often rude, who thinks his wealth should get him anywhere he wants to go. And his wife is more level-headed and often cuts him down to size when his schemes go awry. So in essence, she keeps him in check. But in essence, the moral of what the unseen is saying to us is, let the games begin, moving on up to the east side. The lyrics from the song, we're moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on up to the east side, we finally got a piece of the pie. Fish don't fry in the kitchen, beans don't burn on the grill. Took a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. Now we're up in the big leagues, getting our turn at bat. As long as you live, it's you and me, baby. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Well, we're moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. The moral here is Pluto in Aquarius, matriarchal era, Aquarian era, the age of Aquarius, we the people. And this shift this absolute shift of upward mobility. So again, as the old is collapsing and the new is rising, the unseen is saying, let the games begin, moving on up to the east side. There's going to be an up-leveling. I know what it looks like, quote unquote, in the 3D, real world. Okay, however, we are the guest, not the host. We are not the master weaver. The master weaver, God's source, the unseen, the all that is. And that controls all. So it doesn't matter, quote unquote, what man does, because there's a higher hand at play. And so as these things are collapsing, and the second thing from the unseen was, and it's from Chebby Checker, and so they said, let's twist again like we did last summer. It's from, quote unquote, an album called The Golden Hits. And the lyrics are, come on, let's twist again like we did last summer. Yeah, let's twist again like we did last year. Do you remember when things were really humming? Yeah, let's twist again. Twistin' time is here. So again, there's such an incredible moment where the collapse of the old, the end of the old, and I understand that it looks like that's not the case. But again, number 3, the presumptive crown cracks, splits, falls off, no longer who you thought it to be. There's a lot of massive energies that are playing out that began leading up to the end of this year. Watch how it all plays out. So as we move from there, I want to move to Astrology by Lauren. And this is Mercury retrograde and Pluto now in Aquarius. Through our scientific, and this is a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., through our scientific and technological genius, we've made of this world a neighborhood. And now through our moral and ethical commitment, we must make it a brotherhood, a sisterhood. We must all learn to live together as one, or we will all perish together as fools. It's a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that Astrology by Lauren is quoting. Here, Lauren states, for the past few years, Pluto has been closing out one era to begin another. As Pluto resides at the very distant outer fringes of our solar system, its movements are glacial, and yet its effects transformative, both on society, there's Mercury retrograde for you, on society, as well as in our own individual lives. And when it changes signs, as it did on November 19th, entering Aquarius, we can feel the sea change, as well as experience the growing pains that comes with it. In this moment of transition, there's going to be a lot of growing pains, because we can see the end and the beginning. And they are, in the beginning is the end, in the end is the beginning. So it's like a relay race. So of course, these big energies are transformative, and they can be confusing and chaotic. However, it's not to buy into those energies or to that illusion. It's always about the arc of destiny moves forward. So it is about forward movement, the future, the present moment, future. Lauren goes on to say, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was from 1777 through 1798. We were in the throes of the American Revolution, soon followed by the French Revolution, which was then followed by its reign of terror. And there was also then the Industrial Revolution. So massive amounts of change and advancement. And we've talked about this in previous shows. Pluto is dramatic in its effects and revolutionary, not only politically, but economically and socially. The very motto derived from the French Revolution succinctly defines the Aquarian ideals of liberté, equalité, and fraternité, which is liberty, equality, and brotherhood. We are entering another Pluto in Aquarius era, and there is simply no avoiding it. And now that Pluto has ended its foray in Capricorn, there will still be those who will resist the transition. They will hold on for dear life, distorting the ideals of the Pluto in Aquarius paradigm in the process. This, I'm bringing up, this is the image of the train that we have shown in previous episodes, where it's the end of the line hanging on by a thread, and that image of all of these people, humans, that are just hanging on. And the way that the unseen shows it to me, they're just cleaving and clinging to the outside edges. And this train is operating, it's like over this abyss. And so to Lauren's point, this is that point where it's going to happen. It's Pluto in Aquarius, and it's unavoidable. And yet, here they are. They will hold on for dear life, distorting the ideals of the Pluto in Aquarius paradigm in the process. This is because they fear being made irrelevant. So out of desperation, they will continue to try to hold on, refusing to step down and make way for the new paradigm. But in the end, they must. The arc of destiny moves forward. So this Pluto and Capricorn era, which that was from 2008 through 2024, or just now. So the point is, but it also speaks to a greater era, a greater arc of time. There was the 40-year cycle that we're talking about completing from 85 to 2025, 1985 to 2025. But there's also then this Piscean patriarchal era. And so people cleave to the old because they don't want to be made, as Lauren is saying, irrelevant. However, and if you're doing this in your individual lives, if you're doing this as a business, an institution, a government, you're doing a grave disservice to yourself. To yourself, first and foremost. And then it ripples out to the greater whole beyond that. Lauren goes on to say, now that Saturn is direct, it is reproaching its semi-square to Pluto, symbolizing this resistance. But it is fruitless. Despite themselves, society will continue to evolve. The extent to which we will be able to evolve and how quickly is dependent on the choices we make today. It's how quickly we pivot. It's how quickly we let go of the old, of everything we've already experienced. It's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We've talked about this. But it's about harnessing the best of the past, the best of the patriarchal era, the best of the Piscean era, the best of it. And then harnessing that, leveraging that in the most pure positive way, while equally making space for everything that's new, everything that is before us. So it's about the choices we make today and in every moment. Lauren goes on to say, but evolve we will, for in the end, the stark reality of the necessity for growth cannot and will not be resisted. It simply must be. We have 20 years in which to make these strides. Pluto in Aquarius has this remarkable capacity to transform and even revolutionize the world in remarkable ways. The 20 years has to do with the fact that Pluto is in Aquarius for roughly 20 years. Some of the themes that the Pluto in Aquarius era will be concerned with are groups, giving the power to the people. We're moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky, technological advances, and universal brother-sisterhood, freedom, and civil rights. In regards to groups, Pluto tends to deal in extremes, but in its ideal form, Pluto in Aquarius leans towards innovative initiatives that will support the greater good of humanity. For it is in this 20-year period that we come to realize that we are part of something that is much larger than each separate individual or group. At the other extreme is the rejection of this ideal, where we grapple with the concept of the other. This leads to targeting, shunning, and scapegoating whole groups of people to have one individual or group reign supreme over the others. But this would not be sustainable within the Aquarian paradigm, which is one of inclusiveness, where everyone plays an integral part. Everyone has a seat at the table. That is the best of us. That is where our uniqueness shines in unity. It's uniqueness in unity. Unity in uniqueness. It's this beauty, this powerful idiom, out of many, one. Lauren goes on to say, giving the power to the people. When Pluto was in Capricorn, the power and wealth was being concentrated at the top. It's this whole thing of trickle down, which never trickles down, often at the expense of those at the bottom. This led to an atmosphere that was unsustainable for the average worker. Even though wealth was growing at the top, corporations became people due to a legal decree, allowing them to have say in our elections in the United States. When Pluto is in Aquarius, the power comes from below, from the people, smashing caste systems, financial inequality, monopolies, and authoritarian regimes. At first, these corporations and the caste system and the monopolies and the authoritarian regimes, they will not want to let go of all that they gained. But they must when the people have their say. There's a massive moment of transition. I'm going to bring it up right now because it's one of our quotes. And it fits this moment, and it fits the issue number 3, the presumptive crown cracks, splits, falls. It falls off. When the excessive overwhelms the weak will rise in a chain reaction. This is from Carrie Hone at cafeausoul.com. There's an image, it's an image of Humpty Dumpty with a crown on his head, and he's falling off the wall. There's this whole, and Humpty Dumpty, I'm bouncing before, I'm going to come back to this, but it just came in so clearly from the unseen. And Humpty Dumpty was an English nursery rhyme from the late 1700s to the early 1800s. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. The Piscean patriarchal era is over. It's complete. So whether this represents this, when the excessive overwhelms the weak will rise in a chain reaction. Whether this happens, again, globally, patriarchal, an era, a time, an individual, a government, an institution, the moral of the story is the same. That which ruled, the crown splits, it cracks, and it eventually falls off. No longer who you thought it to be. And so it's to remember that these are the energies that are playing out. This is why this is so powerful. It's so transformative, and it's also so both painful and so beautiful, so exciting for what lies ahead, not for attempting to hold on to what was. Astrology by Lauren. She goes on, technological advances. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the Industrial Revolution was spawned, reorganizing and redefining the concentration of wealth in society as a result. With Pluto in Aquarius for the next 20 years, we are likely to see technological advances beyond our wildest imaginings. Remember from last week, they said, a new digital age, the expansion of consciousness. Like analog to digital, binary to quantum, ain't nothing like the real thing. The real thing is original intelligence. It is your soul source connection. It is what comes through us that allows us to co-create. It is not artificial intelligence, meaning ego, mind, personality. Oh, I did this. Never. No, that is an illusion. That is a crown that's going to crack and fall off. Because we are meant to recognize and realize our abilities come from above. They come through us, and we are the custodians of that creation, of source, of our soul. And when we align with that, when we get in line, in alignment, it's a game changer. We're no longer limited or bound. It's like we're no longer the caterpillar crawling along on the ground. The minute we shift the understanding and the recognition and the paradigm of that, we're the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis, taking flight. We're the eagle. That's where we are. Lauren goes on to say, the sorts of advances that can literally change our lives. Do note that these are not always in good ways, and corrections may need to be made later. So again, when people act irresponsibly, and there's the Indian squaw woman, that beautiful Sabian symbol, where she's acting on our behalves, because we have humans, we've been in this patriarchal ego mind era, and we make a mess of things because we're not listening. We're not allowing our soul to lead and guide us. The soul is true north. It will never be anything but true north. It will never be anything less than. It will always move us beyond. Lauren goes on, universal brotherhood, sisterhood, freedom, and civil rights. In its most ideal expression, the sign of Aquarius has a very large tent where all people are welcome to live with equal representation, acceptance, and personal freedom. However, this can only be accomplished through systemic, and endemic change, a slow evolutionary progression that can literally change society for the better. It may not be perfect, but maybe, just maybe, we can achieve a better version of ourselves. Yes, we can. And remember, the unseen for me is showing that Pluto in Aquarius, it's going to be front-loaded. It's like the first, 2, 3, 4 years. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 months. There's going to be this front-loaded energy, information, system overloads, just like this. It's like a massive snowball coming at us. And then it levels out. So the first, again, 1, 2, 3, 4 years, it's just going to be like someone's just mashing the gas. Advancement, joys, this up-leveling, while simultaneously the everything from before crumbling. And it's all happening at once. Boom, 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 like rapidness. And then it levels out. Then it begins to kind of dissipate. But it's more of a leveling out, but it's front-loaded. Lauren says, therefore, adds Plato, remain silent in the presence of the divine ones, till they remove the clouds from thy eyes and enable thee to see by the light which issues from themselves, not what appears as good to thee, but what is intrinsically good. See, this isn't about what we, ego, mind, personality, this is not what we believe. Yes, we want a healthy ego, mind, personality. We have said that a 1,000 times. However, it's to realize that it is not our ego, mind, personality that is going about creating things and doing things. It is the soul. It is our soul source connection. It is the host. It is the master weaver. It is the unseen. That is the light that is intrinsically good. And it brings us to the Sabian symbol. It's Sagittarius 5. It's again for the sun. An old owl sits alone on the branch of a large tree. The keynote is a poised and wise approach to existence based on a clear perception of unconscious factors and their operation. The owl has always been a symbol of wisdom. This was one of our owl medicine a couple shows ago. And its hooting call has evoked a rise to mysterious and hidden elements in life. The owl functions lucidly in the night aspect of existence. in the unseen. Their eyes see what men normally fail to perceive. They represent that consciousness which is active, where the processes of life normally escape the attention of the personal ego and its intellect. This symbol suggests the possibility of developing a wisdom beyond tragedy, a peace and poise beyond conflict. One might speak here of translucidity. Translucidity means allows light to pass through. It's allowing the light of the soul, the light of source, to penetrate, permeate the ego, mind, personality, the consciousness. So we see these powerful symbols. Astrology by Lauren, she continues, on November 25th or 26th, depending on where you are in the world, Mercury will station for its retrograde phase, which lasts until December 15th. Stationing at 22 degrees, 40 arc minutes. 22, the most powerful master number. 40, it's a big number. Biblical references, as we just said, in this 40-year cycle, but it's 40 arc minutes. Mercury will remain in Sagittarius until the 8th of January. Jupiter, the great benefactor, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, is also in its retrograde phase up until February 4th, which could feel a bit as if we are retreating in order to realign ourselves with our core ethics and morals. We're revisiting all of this. We're looking to see the best of the best and the worst of the previous era. Not to take it with us or elongate it, but to release it, transmute it, purge it, once and for all. If nothing else, it is and will be apparent how important our choices are at this time, and what the basis for our choices actually are, is what will count the most in the end. It is about our choices. Our entire life is a series of choices. What are we choosing today, in this moment, to move us forward? There is relative good where one party may think themselves the sole possessor of goodness and truth. And then there is an intrinsic concept of the good that Plato referred to. We may not fully realize this concept of what seems an absolute good in a single lifetime, but we can aspire to it. It is an evolutionary process, a gradual unfolding. As we ever strive to be more ethical, kinder, and better versions of ourselves, then a higher and truer altruism can be achieved. This is our homework for the retrograde phase of Mercury. This intrinsic good that Plato refers to is God-led, source-led, soul-source connection-led. This is where the ego-mind personality is in service to the soul. And from this way of being, we come into alignment with the way of being. The way. Not my way, not your way, not our way, not some way, not a way. The way. And the way is soul source connection led. It is the unseen moving through us, guiding us to a greater, better, into a new tomorrow, a higher octave, going back to where we began, an octave higher, and this crossing the threshold. Number 5 from the unseen, because this is a moment about radical acceptance, radical transformation. It's Pluto in Aquarius. American Revolution, French Revolution, Industrial Revolution. It's about radical acceptance and transformation. And then with that, what they showed me was, they said, Tower card, World card, Wheel of Fortune. And you see how you don't want to be hanging on to what's collapsing. In this image, which is from Tarot of Mystical Moments, you don't want to be, it's crumbling, it's falling down, and it's meant to. Why? Because the next card to the right, the World card, See, we've talked about this. She's dans le poubelle. The old world, the old era, the old moment is being released. Like the, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Veruca and the trap door, and we're taking the trash out and it's all being revealed. That's going away. What's before us in her front left hand is a whole new world. It's a whole new way of being. So once the tower occurs, once we let go of the old, we enter, crossing the threshold, into a new tomorrow. Eagle medicine. We find ourselves in a whole new world. And what happens after that? It's the card to the right, Wheel of Fortune. The wheels turn. Everything's turning, advancing. It's enhancing us, expanding us. It's moving us into literally a whole new world, a whole new way of being. And it's our second quote. You cannot, this is from the master of the I Ching, you cannot plant a large tree within a small pot. This too we've talked about. It's that the mandrakes in the Harry Potter film series and how we are being uprooted from that initial pot and being transplanted into a vastly larger container. We will expand. Literally, our consciousness, our way of living, our way of life, our way of being, we're going to expand. And thereby, we find ourselves in the fact that the reality is it's radical acceptance and transformation. We cannot remain in the old container, and the old container is not large enough to sustain our greatness in the new. It's impossible. So we're being transplanted. So we had that, and then it's also, this is related, this radical acceptance and transformation, the Tower card, the World card, the Wheel of Fortune. Then it goes to our key word, which is metamorphosis. And this metamorphosis, a change of the physical form, structure, substance, or nature of a thing or person into a completely different one by natural or supernatural means, a complete change of character, appearance, or condition, a striking change in appearance or character or circumstances. Meta, the word meta in metamorphosis means after or beyond. It also means awareness of oneself. So you see this word beyond is playing out over and over and over again. Why? Because we are moving beyond where we've been. The old is not big enough for who we are and who we are becoming. And there was a moment, I want to go back quickly. It's number 4 from the unseen, and it goes with number 3, the presumptive crown, cracks, splits, falls off. No longer who you thought it to be. Number 4 then came forward, and it was, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And this is from William Shakespeare's Henry IV. It's in part 2 of that play. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Whatever occurs after all of this, the tower, this dismantling, this rapid, the bottom falling out, all of this information coming to light, all of these things, this reckoning and reconciliation, whoever then continues on to lead, whoever rises to the occasion, and again, this can be in our individual lives, so this can be literally yourself, it can be in our inner relationships, romantic, platonic, business, all of this, again, keep expanding out to governments and institutions and the whole of the whole. It's to remember and recognize in this moment that whoever that is, heavy is the head that wears the crown. With great power comes great responsibility. There's going to be such a weight, a burden, and an opportunity resting upon one's shoulders. And so as we look forward, as we walk through these changes, this radical acceptance and transformation, please be mindful that heavy is the head that wears the crown. Because that is where grace is allowed to come alive, to breathe, to reside. Judgment is cheap and easy. Grace, radical acceptance, because we're moving beyond. We are absolutely moving beyond where we've been. It's number 6 from the unseen. A paradox of epic, and the epic, E-P-I-C and E-P-O-C-H. A paradox of epic, meaning both scale and time. So a paradox of epic proportions. And a paradox, statements or situations that seem self-contradictory, but reveal deeper truths. So this is a radical acceptance transformation moment. It's a tower moment. It's a world card moment. It is a Wheels of Fortune moment. And it is a paradox of epic, both scale and time, proportions, and recognizing that it's a statement or situation that seem self-contradictory, but reveal deeper truths. It's staggering. I just can't say it enough. It's staggering. The ending and the beginning and the ending, the epicness of the fall, the tower, the collapse, and the rising, all happening at once, all front end loaded, all with, the foot on the gas. Everything's just being for at least the first 4 years. So we are talking between now and the end of 2028 into 2029. This just massive rush of energies. And it's good. I guess one could say, depending on, are you cleaving to the outside of the train, of the old train over the abyss that's coming into the station to stop, to go nowhere ever again? Or have you crossed the platform? We've talked about the golden ticket. Do you have the golden ticket and you're on the train that's going somewhere? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pluto and Aquarius. We've been talking about the first 1, 2, 3, 4 years. 0, the beginning, and the following. So look, there's roughly 5 years. This front-loaded new adventure awaits. You've got the golden ticket. You're on the train going beyond where you've been, where we've been. Let's now move into Eagle Medicine. This is from Jess Hagen, urbanhealersofla.com. The eagle spirit animal totem represents inspiration. Eagle, with her penetrating cosmic gaze, sees beyond the confusion and darkness of the world to the eternal light that connects everything. This medicine is the messenger for the spirit world, which is to say the energy of life beyond the physical dimension. Eagle represents the connection to soul, to source, to the all that is, to the unseen. This medicine is the messenger of the spirit world, which is to say the energy of life beyond the physical dimension. Welcome, Ava. Welcome, Colleen. The eagle is the highest flying animal in the sky. No other animal travels closer to the greater cosmos beyond Earth's atmosphere than this majestic being. For this reason, eagle medicine is a powerful connection to the Great Spirit, or the great mystery of all creation. There are many words for God, and all of them are only the smallest fraction of a description of the unified event/being of all that is creation. Eagle medicine brings inspiration and purpose to all our endeavors on earth because it connects us with the infinite source of light. It connects us to our soul source connection. Eagle knows that in the greater cosmos, all is connected by a bond of love, which is light. Eagle knows all is always well. It's all always divine and neutral, and it's up to us to see through the illusions, to stay centered in a state, make space for grace, so that we can see clearly, so that we are the best version of ourselves. And when we each, 8 billion souls, when we each individually do that, It's a game changer. The world we live in is completely different. Colleen is saying, James, this gives me hope, but still supporters are crazy. Yes, because there are those that are still cleaving to the past. But remember, the bottom, the trapdoor, the bottom, there's things that are going to happen, and it doesn't matter. It's not a political statement. It's simply saying, from a soul perspective, when you're making choices that are cleaving to a past, that are illicit, shadowy, a holdover, those energies are going to collapse because they cannot and will not fit in the new container, in the Aquarian matriarchal era. They don't. And imagine, we've outgrown the pot. Well, the pot can split. Like in the astrological charts, that crown, it begins to crack and splits open, and it falls away and falls so that we can be transplanted to a larger container. When Eagle, Jess Hagen goes on, when Eagle lands in your life, a new gust of inspired energy is on the way. Say yes to the winds of change and trust that they will lift you up to higher ground. Eagle is the passionate spirit energy that makes life magnificent. The wonder and the awe of life is her gift and invitation. There is no end to how good things can get. Eagle teaches us to build our nests high and reach for the stars. It is to reach for a greater version of ourselves. Eagle's vision will find the big love connecting us all, even in the seemingly darkest confusion here on Earth. Eagle soars as high as needed to bring down the light. This medicine knows that it is not possible to hide light. Wherever you tried to hide light will be lit up by the power of an eternal grace. We've talked about this. You can't hide from God. You can't hide from the light. We will be lit up. If you are struggling through a confusing or painful time, call on Eagle to lift you away from darkness, up to higher ground where the view is wide and clear. This medicine knows the way up and out of any dilemma and has infinite strength to go the distance and reach the heights needed. Her medicine is an inspiration, a gust of wind that brings the energy to lift you out of a lower struggle. Eagle says, don't wait for God to inspire you. Start somewhere and find the spirit in the seemingly mundane. It is Wallace D. Wattles, small acts in great ways. Keep taking each individual step you can in the moment to reach and create your greatness, to reach higher. When working with Eagle Medicine, the outcome will always be filled with grace and awe. The reason we are here is to find the wonder, joy, and awe in all things. We are not here to suffer or struggle, and as a species, we are now learning for the first time in our recorded history how to learn lessons without the motivation of pain. See, we're moving beyond. We're moving to the matriarchal, which is nourishment. It's intuition. It's all-knowing. It is the salve for the wounds, for the pain, so that we don't act out of motivation of pain. Jess goes on to say, we are developing the concepts of preventative medicine, which is hard to prove since it prevents things from going wrong. It's like the unseen. We receive its confirmations and affirmations in hindsight. What's required of us in the moment, in the choice, is to follow the unseen. That thing that's quote unquote not proven. We can't tangibly see it. We feel it, we know it, we hear it, we sense it, and it's to follow it. When Eagle arrives, it is time to drop the mental analysis and the caution and go where the wind lifts you. Shapeshift into the courage of Eagle. She is the thunderclap, the strike of lightning, the cosmic spark of new life in a seed or an egg. And so are you. Eagle Medicine is the experience of eliminating mental doubt as well as emotional insecurity, so that thoughts and feelings align into silent perfection. It's about our soul source connection and our alignment to it. In native teachings, Eagle Medicine is of the highest vibrational frequency of all animal medicines. Along with Buffalo, she presides over all sacred ceremonies. Her feather medicine cannot be used for harmful negative purposes. When in the presence of Eagle Medicine, any selfish plots or intrigues unfold into a greater good for all involved, meaning they get revealed, they get transmuted. Unlike owl medicine or crow medicine, eagle is not neutral. She is only positive. In the cosmic order of things, the opposite of positive is not negative. The opposite of positive is neutral, divine neutral. From inside neutral, we choose to take either a positive or negative perspective. It's about our choices. Negative lives inside the neutral space of free will, where we live. All humans have free will. When in the realm of eagle medicine, we are outside the neutral third dimension in the greater reality, the source of all that is, joy. Eagle medicine is the realm of all that is. All is well. So there's more here which I'll post. There's so much more here to eagle medicine. Eagle medicine can see the mouse and the mountain all at once. She is aware of the large and the small functions of daily life. She understands that all is small, and in its simplicity lies the miraculous. Eagle medicine has the ability to expand the mundane into the extraordinary, because all that is ultimately extraordinary. We are at a paradox of epic proportion. We are at this moment to recognize how extraordinary we are. Not to go back, not to hide our light or dim our light, but to shine our light, we the people, the Aquarian age, to shine this light from quote-unquote the bottom up. And when that light is radiating, it transmutes, it transcends, it changes everything. Our mantra is Aquarius benefits all of humanity, all life. Mother Nature, Mother Earth. Aquarius benefits all. It is the water barrier. It is the living waters that are brought to the gods. In the Greek, it's Ganymede. So this, because it is about metamorphosis. It is about this, what lies beyond, what comes after this. And this heightened awareness of oneself, meaning in the purest form, we're recognizing our soul. That is where we find ourselves. And I just want to close out with two things. It's hexagram 28. This is from Carrie Hone at cafeosol.com. Hexagram 28 is critical mass. Its action is to adjust. Critical mass can have the message that something is too much or a situation has come to a condition of critical mass and adjustment is needed. The roof has become too heavy for the support or the ridgepoles or the foundation. Exuberance of thought or ideas are weighing down on an old foundation that was built to support the past. Being out of touch with the reality of the situation or excess of some kind can be at play. Critical mass suggests the hidden influence of the creative at the root of the situation, where this tension is actually the driving force of great creativity and accomplishment. Nature uses tension to push all things beyond the known. Opposites collide and all are lifted to a higher, more sustainable level. We're going back to where we began, an octave higher. It's moving us beyond this collision of these moments or energies. Opposites collide and all are lifted to a higher, more sustainable level. Even while critical mass feels uncomfortable, it will lead to a readjustment. In this case, you may have to push beyond what you feel is limiting you by adapting and adjusting. You may need to stand alone with no support during this time of crisis and simply give form to your vision. Too much of a good thing is not always good, so critical mass can also suggest moderation. Nourishing vision without putting it to proper use reveals an underlying cause of perhaps needing to come out and show the world what you have been working on. It's to shine your light. This can be a perfectionist who spends a lot of time practicing but is fearful of completion or feedback. It can be that you're fearful of moving forward, of releasing who you've been in the past to receive who you are in the present future. Look to your work to stand on its own merit. Believe in what you are doing and don't worry about support and acceptance, because that is the message of this hexagram. Be undaunted. It's eagle medicine. It's recognizing, be formidable in the presence of this change, of this radical acceptance and transformation, this metamorphosis. Because it's like, let the games begin. We're moving on up to the east side. We're going to twist again like we did last summer. Lastly, Carrie Hone, she says, however, this can be a situation where ideas have taken over what is actually witnessed as experience. You may be heaping an old way of thinking on a foundation of the past. Either way, a quantum leap into a new way of interacting is in the air. Pluto in Aquarius, fixed air. The old way of interacting is not sustainable, and the old paradigm will crumble. It's the Tower card. Critical mass holds the essence of the sage's greatest lesson: tranquility in disturbance. It's about standing in the eye of the storm, in the eye of the hurricane. It's not about being out on the periphery where all of this chaos and craziness is going on. Tranquility in disturbance. Soul source connection. Stay centered, stay focused, be in a state of grace so that you see clearly, you see through, you pierce the illusion in every moment and choice. She concludes, it is not expectation that you hold to. It is the certainty that everything is unfolding perfectly to create change. In other words, it's happening for us, not to us. You succeed because you find that the tension can actually generate excitement and the joy of doing great works. It's about this soul source connection alignment and the beauty of all of this. And all of this truly culminates in this one simple, we had this as a mantra in a previous show. However, we're going to conclude with it in this moment. At this moment in time, 8 billion souls on the planet, we carry the mantle of freedom forward. Freedom is universal. Freedom is innate. Freedom is at the center of our beingness. And when we are the custodians of freedom for every single soul on the planet, when our individual selves and then our relationships and then our companies and our businesses and our institutions and our governments, when we carry the mantle of freedom forward, when that is at the fore, it's a game changer. It's a whole new world. Make no mistake that the old way, the shadow way, the illicit, the bad eggs, the crown's going to split and fall apart. It's going to fall off. The tower is going to happen. The tent poles are collapsing. The tent roof will fall. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. Be mindful of the choices you're making on the inside. Align them with the future, the present future. The matriarchal, Aquarian, Pluto in Aquarius era. There, you will ride a wave so great that you won't recognize who you are anymore. And equally, with the analogy of a wave, if you're clinging to the past and the old energies and the illicit stuff, like in surfing, the wave can wipe you out. It can absolutely knock you to the bottom of the seabed floor and roll you up the beach. It can swallow you and consume you. So be mindful of your choices. So with that, I think we've covered everything. There's so much here. And I apologize for running over. But I just want to leave you with this beautiful image. It's our main theme, crossing the threshold into a new tomorrow, the following day, the time following an event. and this word and the eagle medicine, this just iconic, formidable image of eagle energy, of eagle medicine, and recognizing and knowing that we're moving beyond where we've been. How we get there, what our personal experience is, that's up to free will. That's up to individual choice. Choose wisely. Until next week, I love you all, and be well. In the United States, have a wonderful holiday, and recognize that these energies, again, are rippling out for days, weeks, and months to come. So what did they say? Hang on for the ride. Yeah, hang on for the ride. We'll see you next week.